Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Oli. If this is your first time, then welcome, and if it's not, then welcome back. So first of all, apologies for the slight hiatus in the video making, especially since the last video I made was less than super positive, let's say. I've had lots of very nice messages asking people asking me if I'm okay and this kind of thing, and I'm absolutely fine. So if you didn't see my last video, basically I had gone through a bit of a relapse, I suppose, in my skin, and I was struggling a little bit in terms of how to find balance between, you know, having a kind of like a completely non-restrictive and supposedly sort of intuitive mindset towards food, but then also trying to balance that with how to kind of stay healthy and eat the things that I know are good for my skin. So everything's been absolutely fine. Actually, the skin kind of reversed quite quickly again, which is really good. I was particularly worried about things like my lips, for example. As you can see now, they're fine again, which is great. I was worried that they were, you know, because they'd been such a stubborn area for such a long time before, that they were going to be difficult to kind of get back to normal again, but luckily it was all fine. But just as a general life update, the reason why I hadn't made any videos in a few weeks is because, well, firstly, because of the new role. It's super busy, my new role at work, I mean. And like I said, I'm kind of juggling sort of lots of different things all at once and working with people kind of all over the world, which means that my days are all of a sudden very, very long, speaking to people sort of in Asia in the morning, and then in sort of North America, the other side of the world, in the evening. So that's kind of one aspect of it. And then secondly, because it's summer in the UK, and when it's summer there's so many other lovely fun things to do, so that's another thing. And also finally, super exciting, me and Charlie have been looking for a house, so that's kind of been taking up a lot of time. And yes, we have found a place and we've put in an offer in, so hopefully things are kind of going to start moving, but you know, nothing's set in stone until everything is signed and all the contracts are sealed, so don't want to get too excited about that, but a little bit excited is still fine. But in terms of today's video, I just thought maybe I'd kind of just talk a little bit about what I've been doing in terms of how I'm sort of reversing things, how I've sort of addressed the whole trying to find balance between, you know, history of eating disorders and you know, having a healthy diet. And also maybe just a few other little things, bits and bobs here. So I've kind of come to a realization now that even though I have sort of been on this kind of health journey a bit on my own, as in I haven't had much professional intervention other than I did go to a naturopath, sort of antisocial motorbikes. Except for I did go to a naturopath, and some people might argue that doesn't count as a professional, but I've done a lot of research and I've watched a lot of other sort of YouTubers, and I've also been speaking to a really good friend of mine called Susan, and she's been following somebody called Goji Man, who I hadn't really heard of that much, which is strange because he has a lot of really, really clever, interesting things to say, and I really recommend, if you haven't looked him up before. He talks a lot about the fact that your gut and the health of your gut and the health of your microbiome has a lot to do with your sort of overall health, which I 100% believe in. So what I've done now is I have actually got in touch with a sort of a gastro specialist, and I'm going to be going for some tests. I've already done sort of 3 out of 4 different tests that basically just rule out lots of things like fructose intolerance, SIBO, and there was something else, sort of dairy intolerance and these kind of things. So yeah, I'm actually doing a test tomorrow to sort of get the final one, and then hopefully what I hope I'll be able to do is, I don't know how I'm gonna find the money to pay for this, but I'm hoping maybe I can find a way to do some kind of microbiome profiling. So I know that you can do things like stool tests where they can basically see if you have things like bacterial overgrowth, or if you have sort of imbalances or sort of lacking in certain, I don't actually know how it works, certain strains of bacteria. Hopefully I'll be able to get some answers in that way. I think it would be really, really interesting to see what my gut is like, because I know in addition to my skin problems, I have a lot of digestive problems. Like, I really do. My stomach is bloated often it is very bloated, and it's especially after eating vegetables, which makes it a little bit problematic if you're trying to have a plant-based diet. So it's all a bit, yeah, lots to consider, lots of things that you need to get in check. But I'm really hoping that this is going to be something that I'm going to be able to do in the quite near future and get some answers, and then hopefully I'll be able to follow some kind of protocol that I know will hopefully address the kind of skin issues in a very long-term way. There's another thing, people talk about oxalates. Again, I've never been tested for any kind of oxalate sensitivity or histamine sensitivity, anything like this. So it would be really good if I could, you know, find out if I have any of these things, so then I could actually start tweaking my diet, not just in a way that I think works for me, but actually in a way that I know sort of with fact is going to help and is going to work. So I'm already rambling quite a lot, but then I thought also I would address the whole, since I've talked about it in my last video, the whole eating disorder thing, what it is that I'm trying to do to kind of try and address this. Again, I think the first thing is that I have had to accept that I cannot eat like a normal person. I cannot, well, a normal diet, so I cannot eat lots of things that other people can eat. I can't eat things like I can't eat processed foods. I can't, if I'm going to enjoy myself and have sort of sugary or overly refined or overly oily or fried, anything like that, I will, you know, definitely notice the effects of that. And in a way I'm okay with it, because I think it will make me healthier in the long term in lots of other ways. But it does just mean that, you know, when it comes to sort of figuring out how to remove restriction from a sort of a mental, psychological standpoint, I have to sort of figure out ways to have sort of treat foods that are still healthy. So what I've been doing recently, I've been having things like lots of kind of plant-based / healthy-ish whole foods treats. So I've been making things like loads of like nice cream bowls, and honestly it tastes just like ice cream, so this is great. I've also just had a very much like complete and unconditional permission to eat whenever I'm hungry, because I think this kind of goes hand in hand. When you've had sort of eating disorders, you think not only is it you restrict the type of food you eat, but also sort of when and the amounts and those kind of things. So at least the when and the amount, that is something that you can completely remove all your restrictions with, and that's kind of something I've been doing. And also I think another important thing is the reducing stress around it, and being very kind to yourself, being very non-judgmental, because I think that's another thing that I think people who struggle with these things, you kind of think you ought to be eating or behaving in a certain way when there really isn't one way to do anything. So you have to just kind of listen and let go and let your body just do what it wants to do, but at the same time kind of just stick to the things that you know are going to be good for you and is going to provide you with nutrients and is going to sort of support you from the inside in terms of your health. So I'll keep you updated in terms of how all the gastro tests go and see if I get any answers. And I think, again, yeah, like I said, it would be really interesting to see if I have any of the things that, you know, a lot of people seem to have with these kind of skin issues. And other than that, I hope you're all keeping well. And yes, I'm still alive, I'm still here. So thanks for reaching out, everyone who did that. Super nice, and it's really sweet. And I will check back in again very soon, and I won't leave it so long this time. So bye.